A lot of people are gonna die. This boat is evil incarnate. We're about to finish this game. Our martial law. What is going on this friggin' boat? What's going on today, YouTube? This time we're coming in. We're going in a little bit of a Rochambeau, kind of a wild, out of context order. You know, we don't care about conforming to numbers and orders of things. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna skip 406, we're going to skip 407. We might come back for those, but we're going to go right into 408. We're going to deal with negotiations. Big negotiations. And when I say big negotiations, I mean it's time for a Togashi card game. Without further ado, let's get right into this Togashi card game. So immediately, we're off to a rocking start where every character that Togashi introduces for Hunter x Hunter is just a mind-blowing genius. Borkson, whatever, and then Borson. We're gonna call this character Borson. I don't care. It's not Borkson. We're gonna call it Borson. So Borson over here immediately 100 IQ after just doing a quick little thing where she asks, "Hey, how many of them are you?" She turns and looks away from Morena. She's like, "How many of these guys are you?" They don't answer. She's like, "They're not going to answer you." From this little inference of them not answering and the body language and how Morena answered her, she's just like, "Yeah, there's going to be half of that number. There's probably not 50 of them. More like 25, which is damn close." Just got like right on the money there. So we got Borskin. She's going nuts. She's already playing high IQ. She already knows what's going on. Already has evaluated how many people there are just by asking a simple question. Then we get more elaborations going right into the card game. Ask the question right off the bat by choosing the aim card. Pretty much, what is the aim of Morena? So what is the Morena aim that we got going on? What is her aim? Quite simply, the goal that she has going on is not just the destruction of Kakin, but once that's done, we'll keep trying to go until the destruction of humanity is about 100%. Not too bad. So the destruction of pretty much Kakin, the entire empire, and then we'll worry about humanity after that. We're going to try and drop that down to a nice 0. Moving forward from that, we're just kind of breezing through this, going through some of the quick, like, fun reactions that we had going on in this chapter. We're not doing a 100% one-on-one review here. We get a bombshell that drops here, where the next question that comes up is she wants Morena to elaborate a little bit more on why she's doing this. Why the destruction of humanity? Why not stop at Kakin? Why is it destruction of humanity? What is up with this unpent aggression, man? It seems Morena then goes into a backstory where she says, "Do you know of the second track fakers?" To which Borskin, she replies back with, "Yes, the second-rate fakers the second track fakers are the royals without succession rights, like you." As in the other two mob bosses that we've seen. I think it was Broccoli and I forget about the other guy, but the two other mob bosses that we got going on, those two are pretty much the second track fakers that were cocking royalty without succession rights. And they're now mafioso bosses. But then anyway, long story short, Morena drops this crazy little bit of added information that's just out of left field. The actual Morena Prudo is a second track faker. But the real Morena is in a grave marked for me. So this isn't even Morena Prudo. We don't know who this is anymore. This is any man's game. This is any lady's game. We don't know who this is. They're posing as a Morena Prudo. This is absurd this whole time. But yeah, it turns out we got this bombshell drop. She's not this person. And we get a dip into the forming of these second track fakers. How these come to be. Which is a grotesque, Mongolian reminiscent event called the Carne Levar et les Majestés. Hopefully my French is good. What this is literally Kakin royalty just picks a town. They just like stroll into this village. They're like, "Hey, this is our festival grounds." And they start throwing mad parties. Sounds great. Until you realize the purpose of these parties is for the Kakin royalty to just get right to business on as many unwilling recipients. And all these unwilling recipients that unfortunately go through all this brutality that the Kakian Empire is putting them through. All the orphans that are made at this carnival are scarred at birth, and then they are sent to an institution. And once they're sent to these institutions, they get put onto a fast track where they're either second track fakers or flesh. And it turns out this fake Morena Prudo was identified as flesh and suffered for 20 years on God knows what atrocities. You can fill in the blanks. Not good. It was not good. Pretty much during those 20 years, this fake Morena discovers that she has her net ability, contagion, and she starts refining it, honing it, and learning it over the 20 years as she is fulfilling her role as a flesh. Moving on past her talking about how she spent 20 years during her livelihood as a flesh, and ultimately after those 20 years she became head of the Halali family. The Halala family. She became head of this family, and after those 20 years became head of that family. But the point that she drives home after all this is that the last carnival was held 2 years ago. And in terms of timeline of Cocking, that means that the last carnival was held 2 years ago, which was a year after Cocking became democratized. So pretty much to the face of the world when Cocking is like, we're good now, we're democratic, we got elections, we vote, yeah, we're democratic as fuck. I mean, pretty much they say all this, but 1 year after that they're still conducting these sick carnivals of creating carnival orphans, of just brutality. So this is all just to explain why Morena is doing her goal, why she wants the destruction of Kakian Empire, is because it will never change. It is so deep in its ways of hatred and evil that she wants to dismantle it, dismantle the society, and deconstruct what they've got going on and just write the fucking trash can. There it goes. But in order to do all this, she needs people that align with her, that need to pretty much line up with her similar goal in order to achieve her goal. And in order to do that, we need somebody that has special abilities. And that's why she's stacking up all these people that got special abilities. They're all there to help her cause, help her goal, help her achieve her ultimate desire. And I'm going to skip forward a little bit here, just give you the answer right away. They want Borskin. They want Borson Cheese over here. And they want her because she has capabilities as a specialist. And that's something that's revealed a little bit later in the chapters, but pretty much how we know that she's a specialist. And again, we're jumping all over the place here because we're just highlighting this chapter and how fun it is. What's interesting is that she doesn't have an Awakened Nen ability chest yet. However, Dogman can smell the potential of a Nen user, meaning even if they haven't discovered that they can use Nen or they have an affinity for it, if he gets close enough, he can identify your affinity, even if you haven't discovered it. So she is a specialist that hasn't been awakened yet, which means, as they explain in this chapter, is that she's a fresh template. She's not a specialist that picked a niche category or a niche ability and screwed up her special little tree. No, she is a blank slate specialist that can do anything, and Morena wants that. She wants you. So, with Morena wanting Borson Cheese, when Morena wants Borson, and she wants people that line up with her cause. But the problem is, Borskin does not line up with her cause. Does not like what she wants. Is a character that just wants to live the rest of their life. Hopefully it's long, and they want to just live the rest of their life in the lap of luxury that they've grown accustomed to. Meaning, it is explicitly stated Borskin does not care. They don't want Cocking to cease to exist. But with that being said, they don't want Cocking to cease to exist, but duty, national defense, none of that means much to Borskin. It's just that her whole life has been built up to this point of her being so a part of the military brass that she can live a very comfortable life for the rest of her life because how in deep she pretty much doesn't want her. This is like her security. Cocking is her security for having a smooth, successful life. She's already deep with it. She's ready to cruise. She can do that. She doesn't care too much about the specifics. She just knows, yeah, we're here. I don't want anything to mess that up. I just want to cruise. So she doesn't align with Morena. She doesn't want to be with Morena. And we get all this explained in a small, brief backstory about how she's trained in the military academies, was fortunate enough to go to an officer school, had to in small details explains how harsh cocking was. Like even listening to a foreign pop song would be countered as like a high crime. Like you might be in some treasonous waters if you got caught listening to music that wasn't from your country. All of this is just pretty much to say cocking is a terrible place. It is an awful place. The carnivals, the military, the upbringing of kids. It's not looking like a good place. It's not very democratic as it seems to be. Now, again, where those two differ, they don't just have similar. They do have separate goals. Like Morena wants a certain goal. Borskin does not align with this. Borskin does not align with her goals. And it says so later in the chapter. It pretty much says, even if I wanted someone in my life to go away, murder is not an option. That's what makes Borskin different than Morena. Moida is not an option. We don't want to kill anybody. And it's fortunate that she found out. This is all an internal monologue at Borskin, but she's happy that she found out that Morena is honest, very forthcoming with her motives, her goals, her information, talking about her powers, her abilities. She's very upcoming and up forth with it, and she's happy about that because she can immediately just say, I do not relate with your goal, and literally has to just GTFO, get out of this card game as soon as possible and get out of this situation because I want to live a long life. Now we're going all over the place here, touching back in again on her being a specialist and why that's significant. Previous chapter, Morena has stated that there seems to be some kind of clock, a time limit is going on here, that the time is of the essence, and it turns out time is of the essence for Borson Cheese over here. She is at risk at the moment because they need a specialist to line up with their goals. And if she doesn't line up with their goals, they're actively searching for another specialist. So what this means is that they don't need her. If she doesn't line up and do what they want her to do, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. In one of my favorite panels of the chapter, we get true Morena emotion in which Morena says, it would be best if we can find someone with the larger goal in common. It doesn't have to be you in particular. And we get this sinister little look that's just like, yeah, it don't need to be you. We can just throw you in the back door right here and get rid of you immediately. You don't matter to us that much. Just going along, going through the chapter, they're talking quite a bit, learning more about little goals, little niche, nitpick, blah, 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 blah. Another key point from this chapter is, from the previous one, we've identified two traps that wait for us in the card game. Borskin said there was a third trap, and we haven't identified that. With this chapter, we've identified that the third trap is that the game itself is all a trap in order to make them say yes. Because if they don't say yes, Morena revealed the real kicker, which is, we won't try to recruit you again if you happen to get out of this card game and you leave and we let you go. We won't happen to recruit you again. Sure. Yeah. However, we can't have you leave after you know all of our secrets. You see how forthcoming I am? You see how much I'm giving you, how much information you are gaining access to? That's great. We just got to make sure you never reveal those. So that could mean a lot of people are gonna die. Just people, more and more death. Morena just loves killing people just cause. If you don't line up with her cause, so be it. You're probably just gonna end up dead. So that's why this game in itself is a trap for them to say yes. Because if you don't say yes, you learn a little too much. We're probably gonna have to get rid of you the hard way. But as if this isn't already complicated enough of a card game, if she then goes to state after pretty much threatening that we can't let you leave after hearing all of our secrets. If the X card remains, though, if this X card remains, she does say that you know our secret, but that too will be included in the voiding of the game, in which she goes to elaborate saying that we're not going to erase your memory, we'll trust you and pretend like none of this happened. And it sounds like a peaceful breakaway. They'll not try to make contact with you, they won't try to involve anybody. They just hope that nobody says anything and it's all nice, tidied up, and peaceful. If the X card remains, this is how the outcome would be played. Complicated in such a simple little card game of Togashi. Pretty much high points of this chapter is that we got excellent exposition regarding MORENA. We've talked about her goals in this chapter. Huge character development of MORENA. Goals are identified. We find out that she is indeed not MORENA and a piece of flesh from the carnival that is acting as MORENA and using her powers that she's learned in the 20 years of being a flesh in order to pretty much crush the entirety of the evil Kakian Empire, and then after that, humankind, because go fuck yourself. That's pretty much what we got going. Her backstory, we find out what she's looking for on the boat. We don't know why or what she's going to do with this piece of the puzzle, but we find out she's looking for a specialist. She needs a specialist. It lines up with their goals, a bigger picture, and it doesn't necessarily need to be Borson. So, backstory, we need a specialist. Also, just elaborating more on her ability a little bit, where it's explaining that she is trying to maximize high risk, high return. And if you remember then, more powerful, more potency. So we get kind of the idea that in this card game in and itself is a way for her to benefit her own ability. Meaning the high risk of this card game, meaning exposing all of her goals, all of her information, but also the high reward of gaining a subject that is loyal to all of that information. That is a big boon for her, and definitely affects her net ability and is something that they look for and they want. That way, my ability can more strongly support my team. It's the same for those who join. By taking on the risk that you die if no is your last card, the effects of my ability and the resulting team unity become stronger. So depending on the outcome of the game, it's her, benefits the other person, high risk, high reward, it's shenanigans, it's crazy. We're in the middle of a Togashi card game, and in the middle of this friggin' boat, this voyage to hell, it's a highway to hell, this boat is evil incarnate, and then we're down to last 2 cards. We're about to finish this game. 2 more cards to determine the outcome of Borson and what's going to happen with MORENA. Will she get her specialist, or is the specialist going to die, or is the specialist going to leave and forget about all this? Who knows? Because the very next page, we are under martial law. The whole boat goes into martial law. We get buzzers, we get announcers. They are sirens screeching in the boat. Everyone's looking around. Martial law has been declared. And that's the end of the chapter. What happened? Why is martial law declared? Did Kurolo get up there and cause a mess? Is Hisoka causing a mess? Did something happen in Kurapika's classroom? Oh my goodness, did Hulkenberg do something with first Prince Benjamin that might have caused a failure? Did a prince die? What is going on this friggin' boat? Well, I guess at the end of the day, that's the question that we had to leave for next week. This was a rambunctious card game that ended in the whole ship being declared under martial law. What happens next? Anything is possible. Now the ship is under martial law, and Prince Benjamin is going to probably be making some moves. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I have, because I don't want to get off of Togashi's wild ride, let alone this black whale. But thank you all for tuning in to another lovely episode of some Critical J Theory, where we just talk about this Looney Tunes behavior, this this clown world, this absolute lunacy that is being evolved on a black whale ship of over 200,000 gallons. I hope I'll see you sometime soon for another edition of this in Togashi's Wild Ride. Till next time, thank you for tuning in. Oh my.